Well, let's go back to that thing you were mentioning. Let's see. I think I have this. Pull this up somewhere. Yes, we have it from Grabian News. Micah Brzezinski said, this is February 22nd, 2017. Our job is to control exactly what people think.
Yeah.
They do.
Yeah.
And what were they telling everybody in 2008, just before the big crash?
Everything's fine. The economy's great. Invest in the stock market. Go buy a house. Go get yourself a loan. Everything's hunky-dory.
And they knew.
Yeah.
What were they telling us in 2003?
There's WMDs, weapons of mass destruction. They're working. Osama bin Laden is working with Iraq. They're making yellow cake, and they're creating they're creating little small nuclear devices that will be blowing up in New York City. And then we could go on. We could go on to 2001 when they told everyone the air was safe to breathe down at Ground Zero when it wasn't. It was filled with asbestos. But the mainstream media, knowingly that previously, just a few months ago, was talking about the asbestos in the Twin Towers being white elephants. Just months ago, the New York Times, before 9/11, was talking about that. They were now reporting the air is completely safe to breathe at Ground Zero, even though it was filled with asbestos, and the criminality there.
And you know, I'm sure it's because the local law enforcement said that, or the
no. Chrissy Todd Whitman announced that after the EPA got their results, fudged the data. The data went through Condoleezza Rice. Condoleezza Rice edited out that it was unsafe, that it was toxic, that it was going to kill people. George W. Bush then published the findings, gave it out to the mainstream media according with the EPA guidelines, and the EPA announced the air is safe to breathe, even though they edited out the findings.
You hear EPA, and that is God to the media.
Yeah.
The media,
government says it's true.
You must, if the government says it, you cannot question it. That's my experience.
Yeah, I was in New York City. I was breathing that dust, and I'm pissed.
All right, unless it's Trump. When Trump was the government, everything he said was false. So we get that 2003. We get that 2001. We get that 2003. We get that all throughout the,
Even Katrina, there was massive lies and total psyops there with what was happening on the ground.
But look at last October. Yep. What happened? The New York Post put out a story, Hunter Biden, his laptop, and social media shut the story down. They said it was misinformation. We can't allow this. The spokesperson from Facebook goes on Twitter and says, I'm blocking this information. These people, this is a religion. This is cult-like behavior. They don't care if it's true. They just, the priests of their new religion have said it, therefore they must act, and they shut the news down. Then what happens after the election? Oh, that laptop story? Oh, that was true.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like the media is going to tell you the truth.
And the Wuhan lab story, which they were contradicting, and now they're contradicting themselves once again with, the admissions and the data that clearly suggests that. Another thing I wanted to bring up, along with the golden handcuffs kind of analogy, is what happened to Jesse Ventura, because he has an amazing story of working for MSNBC in 2003, where he was rightly anti-war. He was against the war in Afghanistan. He says there's no way I will support it. MSNBC bought him a full-time show that he was supposed to do 5 days a week, and they asked him, you're going to be pro-war? He said nope. What happened? He ended up finishing his contract by not doing a single show, and he got a whole bunch of money for it.
But they lock you down.
Yeah, they locked him down. He couldn't say anything about it during that year. He couldn't do any interviews about it. They controlled every aspect of his existence. We even, I can't believe we're saying this, but even Cenk Uygur had horrible experiences at MSNBC with them trying to control. I mean, if you're trying to control Cenk Uygur now and what his talking points are, and he even came out rightfully so against MSNBC. I mean, wow, you got a major problem when it comes to controlling the narrative, controlling the agenda with closely psychologically approved written talking points that are meant to have an effect. That effect predominantly is horrible for the general public and really good for the special interests, for the billionaire class and the multinational globalists that benefit off of these horrible policies that hurt people more than they help them.
One thing that people need to understand about how these newsrooms work is that when we hear the story about Jesse Ventura, people think that some big boss is coming down to the employees and saying, you will report as I tell you or else. Well, that happens, certainly. But often what they do is they just recruit people they know to be either docile or who already believe in the certain ideology or agenda they're pushing. So they'll see someone tweeting a bunch, like tweeting nonstop about Palestine, saying Israel is bad. Then they'll come to them and say, you're a really great reporter. Would you like to be our Middle East reporter? Knowing this person will frame every story as anti-Israel or pro-Palestine. The inverse is true in many regards. It depends on what the corporate entity wants, what kind of idea they want to push. Why bother hiring someone and then trying to bribe them to say lies when you could find someone who's already willing to lie or is just really dumb anyway, and they'll just say what you want to be said?
Well, at Fox 26, every word that I would say on air was pre-approved by my boss Lee first. So there was no
tightly written scripts.
Oh yeah, so I would be sent out to cover a story. I would write a script of what I was going to say on TV.
Yeah.
And then I would send it to her, and she would make changes if she wanted to and send the script back to me, and that's what I would say on TV.
And so this is happening on local news. Imagine the bigger effects on national news.
Yes.
I mean, you could only imagine the level of control that goes through there.
So you worked for Fox Corp,
Yes.
which is not Fox News.
Right. I mean, Fox News and Fox Corp are both owned by the Murdochs.
Okay.
But they're owned by Rupert Murdoch. Lachlan Murdoch is in charge of Fox Corp. That's Rupert's son. And Fox Corp has the Fox Sports, I believe Fox Sports, and all the Fox local owned stations.
So it is still similar in that regard. It's a Murdoch company.
Yeah.
You'd think that the media would be cheering for you, calling out Fox, right? Like these leftists at, say, the Daily Beast would be saying, wow, you've exposed the Murdochs for who they really are, trying to force you to lie or withhold information. That's not what they're doing. It's really weird. So I guess I'll just say it. I think you made the mistake of giving an interview to the Daily Beast, right? Is that what happened?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I was being blown. The media was blowing me up on Monday, I guess it was. And I guess, yeah, Tuesday. And anyway, I was just like, I was like looking at all these emails, and I was like looking at what I recognize. I recognize the name Daily Beast. That's a media outlet. Okay, sure. Yeah, I'll talk. Here's my number. And then this lady, we had a very nice conversation. And then later someone's like, oh, there's a Daily Beast article. Okay, I see the headline.
It's an opinion piece.
I when I saw the headline, I instantly knew it was a smear piece. I haven't even read the article. If I'm not interested in smear piece. I don't care if someone wants to write a smear, whatever, because I know who I am. But it's just,
So
I wasted my time on her, whatever.
I think I have the smear piece pulled up. I could be wrong. It says, wait, this is why a local Fox reporter sabotaged her career. Ivory Hecker told the Daily Beast on Tuesday that she's been terminated after claiming on air the station has muzzled her. This is an opinion piece.
I didn't even tell her I'd been terminated. I told her this weird situation that happened where my bosses wouldn't tell me why they were getting asking for my gear back. And then I received a text from a third party saying that my boss told him to tell me. And I was like, okay, this is weird.
And these people are so nice to you, and they're so encouraging, and they're so friendly, and they're so supportive when they talk to you, when they interview you, and then the stuff they write, your eyeballs pop out. I mean, we were hanging out around a couple of journalists, and we talked privately. I was like, that guy's so full of utter I can't say it here. Family friendly show.
You're being vague because you're describing many situations.
There's many of them, and then and a lot of them. I'm like, that guy's gonna write the most horrible, horrendous hit piece ever. He is a disgusting, two-faced, soul energy vampire. And then people around me.
I know what you're talking about.
That one girl. She's like, no, they're gonna be great. He's such a nice guy. He's so friendly. I'm like, you could feel and sense energy when you're in tuned with it, and you just smell the scumbaggery through a lot of these low-life psychopathic individuals that have sick, twisted personalities that try to befriend you in this fake, sick way in order to try to destroy you, and it's convincing. A lot of people who aren't experienced in this larger kind of psychological crazy trauma abuse that they're through, they're victims of it.
I'll reveal a little bit about this one situation I think Luke may be referring to. There was a point where this journalist who had agreed to do an interview left a wireless microphone on and active at a table and saying, bye, I'll see y'all later. And people were still sitting around. And it seemed like it was
meant to catch audio off the record when he left so he could record all of our conversations. Wow. And I'm like, there's a hot microphone, a wireless hot microphone. I forgot who found it, but I was absolutely furious about it because who goes into your home and leaves a hot microphone inside of your home? Essentially wiretapping us when we were having private conversations.
But the response was, oh, it was just an accident. We forgot it was there. It's no big deal.
Sure.
And so I'm not implying anything by it. I'll also say it's not that I'm condemning that completely outright because like Project Veritas does undercover reporting. But there is something different about you agreeing to sit down with a journalist who then tries to sneak a microphone into your house versus you get caught undercover. But I'm not trying to make that. I'm not trying to act like they're completely different.
Yeah,
but the issue is this guy came in with an agenda. We knew he had an agenda. He was extremely weaselly, and it was very obvious the way he was asking questions, the way he was framing things. And too many people are trusting of these people to think. So I'll put it this way. When your video comes out with Project Veritas, what did the Fox 26 say? They said it was a falsely, deceptively edited video and misinformation or whatever. And that's what we hear.
But from a disgruntled former employee, implying that because I was fired by Fox, I'm doing this. Everyone knows that's false. I did what I did live on TV while I was working for Fox.
Right.
So it's an obvious false statement from Fox.
Maybe that's some
Why
defamation.
would they make themselves look so bad?
But so, what they try to make that claim that when you actually hear people saying these words that they're deceptively editing or whatever, what these journalists do is they mishmash quotes from you so they can claim you literally said them. And then they can publish whatever they want. They can use various tricks so that I can take a quote from you and then I can add a ... and take a different quote and mash them together so it makes it sound like you believe insane things. They do that. They do it all the time. People don't realize it because they assume the media must be telling the truth.
It is easy to do.
There was a famous comedian caught doing this in Australia with the reporter Avi. I forgot his exact full name.
Right.
But
What's
he
that guy?
secretly
Jim Jeffries.
he secretly recorded the interview. And I had many media publications come to me and be like, "We want to do an interview." I'm like, "Okay, I'm going to record it too." As soon as I say that, no. That guy that we were just referring to was an absolute liar. He did a huge hit piece. We don't even want to mention him by name. We don't want to give him any more attention. But again, a lot of
major
these
mainstream publications.
Yeah, major mainstream publications, and they're so. I smell these guys out like a bloodhound because it's so telling. It's so true, and you must have to be like. It's just hard to believe. A lot of people have it.
I'll give you a real example.
They wouldn't do it themselves. I wouldn't do something that they were doing.
I'll give you a personal example, and I'll call out the journalist by name. Andrew Morantz. He came to do an interview with me at my apartment writing for, I think this was the New Yorker. Yeah, it was the New Yorker. And I told him this big long story. I was talking for quite some time. He recorded it, actually. He took one story where I had a quote and a different story with a different quote, and he put them together.
It's gorgeous.
To make completely different context.
Amazing.
When Vice, because it was about Vice, saw the quote, they got mad and said, that is not true. That quote isn't true. So what the New Yorker did was they removed it, but instead of admitting fault, they said a quote from Tim Pool has been removed because it contained errors. It wasn't my error. Mm-hmm. But then what happened was many people in media started saying Tim lied and provided false quotes to the New Yorker because the New Yorker should have come out and said, Andrew Morantz is a lying, two-faced, duplicitous, fake reporter who makes things up and then doesn't correct himself. They could have done that. He could have said, I'm sorry, I made a mistake, and I wrote down notes, I was an accident. I talked to him on the phone, and I said, bro, you have a recording of this. You came to my house, you turned the recorder on. And he was like, too bad. And I'm like, dude, the story I told you, I've told on my YouTube channel before. The story that I told you, I have told numerous times. The quotes you mashed together in no way reflect the story I've told. And he was like, well, what we said about removing it was fair and true. It contained errors. And I said, yeah, your errors. So put that it was your error. And he goes, we're not going to do that.
Wow.
Yep. Welcome to the media.
And then he's writing this like trivial, meaningless drama that has absolutely no merit on any real life or anybody's else existence. And I'm like, how do you call yourself a journalist? Like, how do you look yourself in the mirror? I know, but it's just hard to fathom how someone could be so duplicitous. I had the Southern Poverty Law Center do the same thing about me. Take two different statements, pull them together as if I was calling for a violent revolution when I was specifically calling for a nonviolent evolution of people waking up, informing themselves, and helping out their fellow brothers and sisters and starting communities. They took two separate quotes, put them together as if I called for a violent revolution, and they put that on their website, and they put me a part of their Patriot hit list. And I'm like, are you
Oh
are
my
you kidding
gosh.
me? Like, I never
Yeah.
said this. I recorded the
make money.
conversation. There's a video. There's a YouTube video that they took it from, and the two exact quotes are in two different positions, and you just conflated it to try to make me look like somebody I'm not.
So that is deceptive editing. Yeah.
Yeah.
And what
Yeah.
Project Veritas is doing is not
Of course.
deceptive editing.
Yeah.
And the new sound bites I just put out today, a ton of direct from their own lips, my bosses. It spells out there was no deceptive editing in what Project Veritas just released. Okay. Go listen to my new video.
It's not real news anymore. They are corporations that seek to make money off of infotainment. So Project Veritas, a non-profit, doesn't make money off infotainment. It makes money off of exposing corruption. You can argue that, like the Southern Poverty Law Center, they make money when they get these stories accusing people of being racist. Project Veritas makes money when they can accuse someone of malfeasance. I suppose the difference is that Project Veritas puts out videos where people's mouths are moving, whereas Southern Poverty Law Center just writes whatever they want, kind of makes things up. Actually, I will say outright makes things up. They had to retract an article about me and a bunch of other leftists, which is really funny. They claimed, I love it, Southern Poverty Law Center, you guys deserve this one. They claimed that I was alt-right. As most people know, it's a meme because I say I'm mixed race so often. And so I'm definitely not. And they claimed that I went to a Holocaust deniers conference in Iran, which is like the most insane thing to accuse someone of doing. Like, there's sanctions on this country. It's very difficult for Americans to go there. What are you talking about? Well, it turns out their source for this was a conspiracy theory website for Holocaust deniers that had been deleted and someone archived. And the Southern Poverty Law Center thought that was a credible source to publish on their hate watch or whatever and accuse me of actually going there. And I remember talking to a lawyer on the phone. And he's like, now this is important. You know, if there's going to be a defamation case here, you need to tell me if you've actually gone to something like this, or is there any way that this could be construed as just his opinion on the matter? And I was like, I've never been to Iran. This is insane. It was a conspiracy theory website. And he's like, okay, all right. And then the Southern Poverty Law Center had to retract that.
Good.
Their goal is just to make money off of shot content.
And here's the really sad thing is that the media puts a lot of weight on what the Southern Poverty Law Center says. Yeah. When I was with the NBC affiliate in Minneapolis, there was a story that I was there was a actually anti-jihad protest happening that I was assigned to, and the group who was protesting jihad, the Southern Poverty Law Center had listed as a terrorist group, I guess, or a hate group. Mm-hmm. And so my TV station actually told me, don't go interview them. We don't want to give a hate group, time of day on camera. So because this little law center said that this group is a hate group, they were about to get zero airtime. They couldn't even explain themselves why they were protesting jihad. And so I objected. I was like, absolutely not. I am going to interview the people doing this protest, and I'm going to interview the people they're protesting. And I'm going to show exactly both sides. And when I put it together, I had both sides going back and forth, and it was incredibly compelling. And it turns out these people were protesting the abuse of children. They were protesting child marriages. They were protesting oppression of women. That's what these people were protesting. They were doing the opposite of hate. They were standing up for women's rights. This group, which by the way, because jihad, there's different layers of jihad. Some people, there's different layers, but they were protesting the radical jihad. They were taking a stand against it. So, but anyway, I went and interviewed the Islamic group that stands firmly with jihad too. It was a very interesting story, but I had to put my foot down on that story. But a lot of reporters and news people are pushovers. They don't want to interject and say that I want to interview this person because God forbid she likes to give hate groups the time of day. No, we're trying to get to the bottom of the truth on this.
Now, when I worked for Fusion, there was a pitch from one of our producers. They wanted to go and film a Klan training, like actual Klan members, of which there's very few. There's a few thousand in the country remaining, I think. And people at Fusion said, we don't want to give a hate group coverage. It's bad. Well, Vice ended up doing something similar. They embedded with a bunch of alt-right and white nationalists in Charlottesville and won a bunch of awards for it. They actually had a reporter go into the hotel room of white nationalists Allow these white nationalists to say any and everything, and they won an award for it. So long as you are part of their cult, and you for whatever reason they accept it, then you get to do it. But if you challenge them in any way, if you're not bending the knee to their indoctrination, then they'll remove you and say you can't.
Mm-hmm. I feel like the media is so easily manipulated. I think there's a lot of innocent, naive media members who don't realize they're being manipulated by groups like the Southern Poverty Law Center, who is peer pressuring them into not talking to people who were actually standing up for individuals' rights.
Thanks for checking out this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. If you want to see the full show, come back to this channel, youtube.com/TimcastIRL, Monday through Friday at 8 p.m., where you can leave comments and super chat, and we actually will read your comments on the show. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and if you want exclusive members-only content, segments you can't get anywhere else, go to timcast.com, become a member, and we even have full bonus episodes. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.